Use code DATTO10 at logi.gg/datto to save money on your next order from Logitech. Links are in the description. I didn't get to play the finals beta until pretty late in the open beta period, so by the time you're watching this, it is unfortunately already gone. But in the 6 hours that I got to play, I had a really good time, and I would love to talk about it. I don't think there's a release date yet set for the game, but supposedly it's going to be before the end of the year. The Finals is a first-person shooter where the objective in both current main modes is to cash out the most money or be the first team to cash out a certain amount of money. Money is obtained from kills, but large chunks of money are usually planted around the map in the form of a vault or a container that you must carry around, or coins that you pick up. You deposit this money into a cash out station. The two modes are Quick Cash and Bank It, and I'm going to talk about the unranked versions first. Quick Cash is where you go to a vault and then literally bring the vault with you to a cash out station and then protect it while it deposits. The money deposits all at once when complete, so you need to stand by the whole time, and depositing that cash takes a while. Other teams are able to steal the money from the cash out station at any moment, so a team wipe could mean a trade of currency. You don't really earn money from killing other players in this mode. The format for this mode is 3v3v3. Bank It is much more chaotic, where vaults contain a certain amount of money, increasing as the match goes on, so the first one will be 3,000, then 4,000, 5,000, going up. This money is in coin form, which you pick up off the ground, and you can hold as much money as you want. But if you die, you drop all of your money, which can lead to big swaps of cash. So knowing when to fight and when to deposit is very important. This mode is 4 teams of 3 instead of 3 teams. There are 3 classes of character: light, medium, and heavy. As you might expect, light classes are more nimble but have less health, medium is a nice hybrid, and heavy is bigger, slower, with more health. Each class has 3 unique specializations, their own unique weapons, and some unique gadgets, although every class gets access to most of the grenade variants. For example, light can get dashes or a cloaking device, medium can get a healing beam, which I found to be very good, and heavy can get a charge attack or a giant shield that your teammates can shoot through. All of these abilities have cooldowns, but no charges. There's no resupplying needed or anything like that to get these abilities back or your utility back. You just wait for the cooldown. You only get 1 weapon while in combat, but you do have the option of a reserve weapon in non-tournament modes. So your choice of weapon is very often going to influence your playstyle and team strength. For example, if you're running with a heavy with a sledgehammer or a flamethrower, you might want to stick to the inside of buildings. If you're running with a sniper player or a medium with some machine guns, maybe utilize more open areas. Basic FPS stuff here. Team composition is quite important, and there are definitely certain combinations of weapons and utility that can counter other setups, but it's not rock, paper, scissors exactly. All of these items are purchased with VRs earned from playing the game. It took me a little while to unlock enough currency to even buy one thing in the beta, but I assume that's kind of the point, as once you have everything unlocked, I'm not exactly sure what you're going to do with that currency. The game was made by former Battlefield devs, which explains why the environment is almost completely destructible. And destruction is absolutely a huge part of the strategy of winning a match or even just traversing the map. You can and absolutely should make use of these capabilities. I played with Robbie V and Sir D, and Rob was our heavy. He would frequently blast away walls to get into rooms and even knock out the floor in order to facilitate a steal of another team's cash out. You can also cause destruction to make it harder for a team to get to a cash out node that you're trying to protect. There are 2 maps right now, Seoul and Monaco, with I think both of them having night and day cycles. There are also variants of the maps, as shown on screen, that affect how cashing out might be handled or how certain parts of the map will change. Revives are a big part of the game as well. When you die, you turn into a little figurine, and your teammates are actually able to pick up your figurine and carry you somewhere safe to try to revive you. Medium characters also have access to the defib gadget that they can choose, which requires a short charge and provides an instant revive when you hit a teammate with it. In unranked play, you have unlimited revives, but in tournament play, they are a bit more limited. Speaking of tournaments, the finals gets its name from, well, teams trying to make it to the finals of said tournament. Tournament mode is literally just that. It's a tournament. You're going to go through 2 or 3 knockout rounds, depending on if you play ranked or unranked. And then the finals, which is just a 3v3 against the top 2 teams of the tournament. Also to note that in tournament play, a full team wipe will cause you to lose 30% of your total cash and extends how long it'll take before you can respawn. So wiping out a team in the lead could cause them to lose enough cash to lose their lead or even top 2 placement. Tournament mode quick cash does give a little bit of money when getting kills. Progression in the game is probably as you would expect. You got your battle pass, you got contracts with daily, weekly, and seasonal objectives for XP, you got cosmetics to buy with what I assume will be real money, individual levels on guns and gadgets, and a ranking system through the ranked tournament mode. The beta gave you a bunch of free currency to buy cosmetics, and I believe all cosmetics purchased and earned will carry over to the full launch, but gameplay items will not. So that's all your guns, your gadgets, your specializations. The theming of the finals is that it's a giant game show. You're in an arena surrounded by a giant audience. There are sponsors for teams, that kind of stuff. I don't think there's that much of a story going on or anything like that. This is a team-based PvP game. It is not a battle royale. It is not an extraction shooter or anything like that. It is more of just an arcade type shooter. I think that is the fastest I can recap this game in full as of the beta. As for my thoughts on the game, I had an absolute blast playing this game on the day that I got to play. It reminded me of when Apex Legends just kind of randomly showed up. I wasn't really into battle royales at the time, but it just surprised a lot of people, surprised me. I had a good time with it. This was kind of the same feeling. I haven't really been in love with shooters a whole lot recently. Things just, feeling samey or just a lot of battle royales out there, stuff like that. So this was a nice reprieve from the onslaught of what feels like constant new battle royales coming out or just shooters that I haven't really been enjoying. I played as a medium for about 90% of my time. The other 10% was on heavy. I usually like to play a more all-around class as opposed to specializing into anything specific, but I ended up playing more of a support type role once my team and I started getting into a groove. The heal beam was really good, although I'm not too up to date on the meta or anything, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if teams ran at least one heal beam. I feel like I absolutely destroyed light characters in a gun versus gun engagement just because I had more health, but light characters can still do some really crazy stuff, so maybe it was just people still learning what they can do with light characters. I wouldn't say that there was a class that felt like they were the weakest because they all have pretty significant strengths. However, I ran a pretty generic composition of 3 mediums one time, and the difference between running 3 mediums versus something like 1 of each was very noticeable. Medium has little to no environmental destruction capabilities, and sure, you can jump pad to a lot of spots, but having some destruction, I think, is pretty important, or at least one heavy character. Every decision you make in your kit is important. You tend to want a little bit of everything. You want some heals, you want some utility, but you also need some demolition. You need to be able to navigate around stuff or through stuff. Focusing in on one thing will make you really strong in that one thing, but leaves you vulnerable in other places. But if you try to spread yourself too thin in a bunch of spots, then you might not really be too good at anything. I think what I really enjoyed most about the game is just the crazy stuff that can happen within even one engagement. Planning your attack on a cash out or an enemy team can be as fun as the engagement that follows. There were so many moments of insanity that I just haven't gotten to experience in a shooter in a very long time, like chopping holes in ceilings to bring the cash out down to a level where you can try and steal it or keep away from the enemy team, leveling entire chunks of buildings in pursuit of someone who has 20 grand on them, figuring out new strategies, building a good or new team composition, learning about new things in your kit. Games tend to be at their best when things are brand new and no one knows what the hell is going on, and that's exactly what I got to experience with the beta. It was a really fun, refreshing take on a genre that I really have not been too excited about lately. I'm sure once metas start to form and people find the flavor of the month or super overpowered thing, that yeah, it's going to lose a little bit of its luster. But I'm not going to fault the game for that too much, as that's just kind of what happens in every game. Now, it'll be on the devs to figure out how to keep things fresh, but I do think the launch of the game is going to be pretty fun. What's nice about trying to fight back against certain team compositions is that, as I mentioned earlier, it's not exactly rock, paper, scissors. Usually your team comp has enough going on that if a team is countering yours, you can try to play a little differently to counter them back. For example, I was playing with Gigs one time, and we were in the finals against a team running with a light character with the invisibility sword combo. Very strong, but very fragile. Once we knew their strategy, we could change ours to adapt. We spread out a little bit more. We tried to focus down someone else quickly to lessen their impact, and it worked, and we won that tournament. Even though we couldn't change our loadout at all, we could still adapt at least a little bit. But if a team comes in with a game plan and you're running something a bit too generic, that's maybe where you're going to run into some problems. Balance-wise, there were definitely some things that felt really strong, like Invisibility Sword, like the Light Pistol, like the Heavy class in general, especially with the Flamethrower making it impossible for people to see anything, or the Semi-Auto Shotgun. Defib on the Medium felt pretty good. I don't know how OP it was at my level, because the Defib still leaves someone with half HP when you revive them, so it's possible to make a play, but if you see that play coming, it's not really that hard to shut it down. Apparently, a big issue people were having is just a team full of lights using stun guns and the pistol. The stun gun is definitely very strong. You are almost completely helpless when you're hit. I just didn't see it a lot, so maybe it's just a problem at the higher levels. I'm not really sure. Some discussion of capping how many of a class should be allowed on one team. I've seen that a little bit, but maybe save that for ranked, or see how the meta forms once some balance changes rotate into the live game. I also feel like I saw barely any snipers. They were definitely annoying in the right places, just being able to poke and prod, but a lot of the time you could get into a position with enough cover to just avoid it completely, which leads to the sniper player just being completely out of the game. And because they can't really swap weapons, well, you're just kind of stuck with a sniper. Things felt mostly fine overall. I rarely encountered something that I thought was completely BS and completely uncounterable, but again, this is with about 6 to 7 hours of gameplay experience in the lower ranks. Sound-wise, I literally could not tell the difference between my teammates' footsteps compared to the enemies. I feel like that could use a bit of an adjustment in some way. The announcers also give out a good amount of information. I used that intel on like certain teams respawning in quite a lot, although I did turn their volume down considerably as they will talk a lot. I think the announcers are the one major point of contention for a lot of people, and that is because they are AI. Text-to-speech, something like that. Quote, in the open beta, it is based on a mix of pro voice actors and temporary voices from employees, end quote. The source of that is in the description. I totally understand wanting to use AI as a temporary measure while things get finalized and then you bring in a voice actor once it's locked and loaded. The rationale that Embark Studios, the devs, give is that they could whip up some new game mode and have voice lines ready to go in hours or a couple of days just by, I assume, typing it out into some AI voice program versus hiring voice actors and then spending more time and probably more money having it done in that way. Sure, hiring a couple people sounds very easy, but what if you're trying to support multiple languages? Then you need a localization team, then you need to hire even more people for those languages, then you got sound mixing, mastering. So I understand the issue. I get it. But I think my input on this is just like, you guys have a really good game. Why give people the ammunition to drag the game through the mud? Like, for this reason specifically. People are not into the AI stuff in the creative space. We're still in a massive strike in the entertainment industry, which includes AI usage and how studios were trying to use AI to cut people out completely. Just don't give people the ammo. Hopefully that situation gets sorted. Use some AI lines while it's in development. I'm sure people are not going to care if there's AI voices in the game if a new mode is going through testing. As long as, you know, professional voice work is being done later, and then when it's dialed in, you bring in the people to record the lines, you make everybody happy, boom, you're done. Now people can only badmouth the game because XYZ weapon is broken or microtransactions or whatever is going to be the future problem. I need to reiterate heavily that this is a team-based game, and that if I were solo queuing, I don't think I'd have nearly as good of a time unless you're willing to voice chat, and even then, you're just at the risk of the general people of the internet. This is not your typical quick play affair in other shooters. This isn't even like Overwatch, where your team is naturally just grouped together because the map is a pretty linear experience. This game punishes people very hard for wandering out on their own without any teammates, unless you really, really know what you're doing. And even then, I wouldn't even encourage it. You're gonna want to stick together basically all the time in the average match. You're gonna want to communicate quite a lot. And if you have someone on your team just off doing whatever the hell they want, then they are gonna directly impact your team's ability to perform. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible to play with a teammate who doesn't know what they're doing. Myself and Robbie V got to the finals of a tournament with just the two of us, not even having a random person as a third. But it's going to be very difficult. What else? The game ran pretty well out of the box on a 5800X3D processor and a 2080 Ti at 1440p, even while streaming and recording at the same time. Performance was good enough that I didn't feel like I was being held back on that end. But I'm not a tech wizard. I would go check out some other professionals for that kind of stuff. Settings menu was mostly good. I wanted to change my crosshair a bit more than I was able to. That shouldn't be a huge deal to add. I mean, I would hope anyway. Yeah, I mean, man, I had such a blast playing this game during the beta. And I think if the devs can support the game with more fun modes and maps and frequent balance tuning, they're going to be in good shape for a little bit. However, the main concerns I have is just the appeal wearing off for a lot of people rather quickly, as there are only 2 modes of play. The game might also be a bit hostile to newer players down the road, as there's quite a lot of stuff happening in the game that new players are going to be just baffled by. You know, exploding buildings, fast time to kill, all the different items that are available, all the different team compositions. And finally, I think when metas start to form is when a lot of people may start to lose their patience. Right now, while the game is brand new and people in the lower and mid ranks are just kind of playing whatever and people are experimenting, that's really fun. But as soon as the best team composition, TM, is established and metas form, that's when you're really going to be testing the game to see what it's like. I think the game being published by Nexon also has some people worried on the microtransactions side of things, as Nexon is well known in the microtransactions world, but time is going to tell on that. If you got to play the beta or even the closed beta way back when, if you're allowed to talk about that, let me know what you thought of the game. I had a really good time. I would love to play it more. I might even upload a tournament win here on the channel. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.